and welcome to Patrick's Models and Transport. So I'm in Piazzola sul Brenta at the Più Piccoli del Vero, smaller than real, model exhibition in the ex-cotton mill. We actually made canvas here for bags and sacks. Very nice industrial setting, and we'll see some pictures from outside as well. So let's go and explore. Well, let's begin. I can't show you everything, but I'm beginning with these model planes, and right here there's this Zvezda 1/144 scale Policarpo I-16, and there at the back there's a Fiat CR42 biplane. Now that's nice. I would like that kit. Very nice. So we'll eventually just have a quick look around, because it's impossible to really show everything. I think I'm going to go and ask this person here about the Fiat CR42. That's very nice. Here there's a fantastic model of Savoy Marchetti SM82 Marsupiale in 1/49 scale. This was an Italian transport plane. It was also used for bombing, but it was a transport plane, and they remained in service until the early 60s, if I don't remember badly. After the war, they were re-engined with Pratt & Whitney, more powerful engines, instead of the, I think they were Alfa Romeo engines, these ones here, Fiat or Alfa Romeo. An absolutely beautiful three-motor. There's so many things to see. My wife has disappeared. Oh, now here there's some very interesting models with some Italian. There's a Lancia Trirò gun truck, Semoventi. This is a German Bussing Nag, Opel Blitz. I like the wheel. I've always liked military soft vehicles. Here's a fantastic M42 7518 Semoventi. This was one of the best Italian, this one here, armored vehicles. It was a self-propelled gun, practically an artillery piece. This one here, yes, on an M42 tank chassis. There's an Italian Army Land Rover. At the end, we might ask the camera woman to simply propel me along and do a panoramic view at the very end. Now, this is something interesting, because we can see a model under construction of a Semoventi. And there's two at the back. The one on the left with German insignia, because Germany took over, captured Italian armored vehicles and equipment after 1943, after the Italian armistice. So it's interesting to see the comparison. Very interesting exhibition. Today is Saturday, so it's much quieter, and very good. I'm having a look at the model kits before seeing the trains. It's a very nice little model. Horsepower. There's a broken down, probably a Simca 5 of the German army, because the German army, the Wehrmacht, captured, and they used a lot of Simca 5s, meaning the French license-built version of the Fiat 500 BEE Topolino. The Italian military also used them, and it was a very appreciated car by the Germans, because it was very simple to maintain and very light. So it went, even if it was only rear-wheel drive, it was very good on bad roads. In this case here, it probably got stuck in the Russian mud. And here we can see another model kit called Souvenir dei Tommi, meaning the Italians have probably captured some British kit. Very nice. Here's one model about the Warsaw Uprising. Really, absolutely wonderful dioramas. Really nice. The details are fantastic. Even World War I, there's a Carro Veloce over there on a small scale. We're also reminded of one of the sides of the horrors of war, of World War II, with this mural representing the victims of the concentration camps. This is the day of memory. And so this also reminds us about a rather very serious and very unpleasant consequence of the Second World War and of wars in general. It's when folly takes over, but it's part of mankind, or humankind, to use the PC term, sadly. It's very difficult to get rid of this characteristic. So 2 clips back we saw probably a German Simca 5, Simca sunk on the Russian front, and here we actually see an Italian Fiat 500A Topolino in North Africa in 1942 with Fascio Littore, which was the Italian symbol. These symbols were all over Italy. In many cases we can still find them. Of course, this is not an apology of fascism. This is for YouTube, and it's a disclaimer. It's part of history, and we can't read history without looking at the symbols. It's not possible. So the Fiat 500A Topolino, which was developed as a small popular car, and it ended up going to war, and it actually performed quite well. Citroën Traction Avant. Lots of very interesting dioramas. There's a Soviet self-propelled gun, Su-100, in Budapest in 1945. My Romanian grandfather, meaning my wife's grandfather, he fought in Budapest in 1945, together with the Romanians were being used as assault troops by the Soviets. And he fought among the fiercest street fighting between the Hungarians that had continued fighting on the German side, and the Romanians were often the real most violent fighting in Budapest. I remember showing him photographs of Budapest when we'd been there, and he was admiring how they'd rebuilt the place so well, because when he'd seen it, it was in ruins. And he said, they're clever, they did a good job. This story of crossing the Danube completely drunk, full of vodka. But I'll tell that in another video. Modeling is like writing history, and here we can see a scene in Iraq with Saddam Hussein. Here's some Germans, Afrika Korps Kugelwagen. Here's trying to understand if that's a Renault FT17 or a Fiat 3000. There's a setting in Chernobyl decontamination with a bust of Stalin. I don't know if after the de-Stalinization there would have been any bust of Stalin in Chernobyl. I remember in the images in front of the nuclear power station there was a big head of Lenin. And here's another Land Rover, Series 109, during the Gulf War. And it seems as if this soldier is relieving himself in front of this big portrait of Saddam Hussein. Of course, this is history. These are the characters that made history, and they appear. It's reconstructing history. A model kit diorama is like a painting. You'll always find a little extra detail. So the soldier is having a pea, let's call things with their name, on Saddam Hussein's portrait plinth, and this stray dog is having a pee on the Land Rover. So everybody, after all, it's part of life. You have to relieve yourself. My wife noticed the very fancy railings there. So this is a very nice diorama set at the beginning of World War II by the look of the armoured vehicle, and we could think that maybe that was the big German staff car being brought for that certain unmentionable German dictator who was actually Austrian. I'm not going to mention his name because I've already mentioned other baddies. and there's even the film crew over there. Look, filming. See, do you see the film crew with a camera? And now we move to the Indian subcontinent, because, and here we move back to again North Africa. At the beginning of World War II, the British were actually still using old Rolls-Royce armoured cars in North Africa. And here we see probably the counter-attack, and there's an Italian monument. Bedford QL. And here we've got some France 1916, the Big Bertha. Here we've got some fantasy models, planes, tractors. There's a hot bulb tractor over there, Lance Bulldog, and the fantastic cutaway trench setting of World War I. There's a Scammell Pioneer with a gun tractor and other very interesting. The setting is also fantastic. This industrial setting is absolutely wonderful. This one's called Useless Death. Very symbolic. Yes, World War I and wars in general are useless deaths. And now on a lighter note, a very nice Morgan three-wheeler of 1935. Beautiful. My wife pointed it out to me. Here's some ships, motorbikes. There's a muddy Porsche over there. And of course there are the stalls who are selling specialist equipment, starting grass, paints, model kits, etc. Today's Saturday, it's quieter. I came specifically today to avoid crowds, and tomorrow will be the big day they'll be giving the awards as well, etc. So now we're actually going to head over there to see the model railway layout of the Società Veneta Ferrovie, the railway club that I belong to. But we'll film once we get there. So I'm at the stand of the Società Veneta Ferrovie with their very nice model railway layouts. We'll have a quick look at it now, a panoramic view, and then we'll actually get off my chariot, because I took the chariot today because standing too long might not be fun. Here's a fantastic coaling station. I'll have to take some pictures of that. So let's have a look in detail. And so this is the layout of Società Veneta Ferrovie. We should be seeing a train coming along now. I decided to emerge from my wheelbarrow. Stopped. All digitally controlled. Another train coming along. Beautiful 440. The German train. È una composizione prussiana questa? Ex prussiana.
1930 sì. Sono le carrozze e la locomotiva, sì, sono prussiane, che poi le hanno prese la DRG.
Sì, sì. Sì, sì, quindi Deutsche Reichsbahn. See if it comes all the way down. So here we're at the far end of the SVF layout. Here's my friend Tommaso. Hi Tommaso. Ciao. With the engine shed, cranes,
1975 in Padova, Bassano,
signal box, chemical or oil depot by the look of it. And they're preparing another train.
Parcheggiala da qualche parte. C'è un posto per parcheggiarla, se no. Come vedi sono moduli separati, quindi via via veniva, adesso non ti faccio vedere sotto.
Some 3-axle coaches here.
C'è il bus principale, c'è una che porta la strada, una che porta i segnali, e poi
No, the exterior of the Piazzola sul Brenta ex-jute factory. You can see the factory chimney. You can imagine that Fred Dibna's up there pointing it. And this is a very interesting reuse of an industrial building. Here we've got cafe here with this tower. There's the production hall, which is now an exhibition centre. And they've also built flats, so it's a very, very interesting repurposing, and really very good. Let's have a quick final look at the exhibition now. Well, no modelling exhibition is complete without an airfix stand, and get your files and sandpaper ready to adapt things, ladies and gentlemen. Very nice kits. I have just repeated to myself, I do not need model kits, I do not need model kits, I do not need model kits. I need time to build the model kits I have.
He does not need model kits.
Okay. I do not need model kits. Cheerio, and see you next time.